You know him from Fox News. You know him as a U.S. representative from Wisconsin. You also know him as a great voice for America First. It is Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation for the United States of America. Sean, how are you? Good to see you again.
I'm doing well, Joe. Thanks for having me on. It's good to be with you. We are doing well.
You know, let's just dispel a rumor right up front, okay? I heard because you've got 9 kids at home, you just wanted the job to get out of the house every once in a while. Anything to that?
Well, my wife thinks that may be true, but no, listen, it has been an amazing honor to serve this president who's doing such historic things. But listen, anyone who serves, it's family service, right? The family gives, your spouse gives, your kids give, but they're all on board. They love what we're doing, and again, it's been busy. We have to manage how I get back and forth to home, but it's been amazing.
It is Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. You know, the job that you had at Fox, and I think more jobs would have come in, more work would have come in from there, probably would have paid a whole lot more, would have gotten you more publicity and probably got more people on your side. Taking a job in government, it can't be an easy decision. I love that you're doing it. Don't get me wrong. I love that you're in this position, and I know that the Department of Transportation now cares about my family and me and about our infrastructure and so on. Was it a tough decision, though, Sean?
I was one of the first supporters of President Trump in Congress back in 2015, 2016, and I look at this and to have the opportunity to serve this president with the historic things that I thought he was going to do that he's actually now done. For me, it was a no-brainer. I mean, people can make decisions about money all the time, their finances all the
Yeah.
time, but when you have a historic moment like this with this kind of a president, I would have had so much FOMO to have not been part of what's happening to transform the way our government operates. The relationship that people have with their government is already fundamentally changing,
Yeah.
and that's a beautiful thing. And be part of that is exhilarating. It's been a blast. It's been hard. It's been long hours. But I would want to be nowhere else than in this administration fighting the good fight for America first.
As I said, and my family means it, and all those watching and listening mean it. We're so glad that you did make that decision. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, you were on the job like 3 minutes, and then all of a sudden there's a mid-air collision by Reagan Airport. And I sent you a text when that happened. I said, Sean, wow, right into the fire. When something like that happens, what's the process? Is the mechanism get a hold of the DOT, get a hold of NTSA? I mean, how do you get that phone call? How does that go down? Because you were there almost immediately.
Yeah, so again, Twitter responds faster than anything, right? So
Yeah.
I learned on social media, and which was within minutes of the crash. I organized my team. We went over to the FAA command center and started immediately reviewing what happened. And again, we get a lot of good information. One of the problems, though, Joe, is that I know more than what I can actually say. So
Right.
you get people online who see data that can start making comments and assumptions. I actually have a pretty good idea of what went right, what went wrong,
Yeah.
and you just got to kind of stay mum. That's the job that I have. But again, it's getting out and giving as much information as possible. And at that point, people have the question: is air travel safe in America? And then we had several incidents after that, and that
Right.
question has burned with the American people. And it's my job to be honest, to be transparent, but to tell the truth that, of course, air travel is safe. It's the safest mode of transportation. You're safer getting on an airplane than you are a car.
Right.
And you got to review the facts and all the safety mechanisms, the redundancies that we have in place. And we have to think about that as well as we're dealing with the impact of this crash. By the
Does
way,
it play?
NTSB does the investigation. They've been fantastic partners as we've gone through a number of different incidences. They're transparent. They share information. And again, they do a great job of assessing what went wrong. And then how do we fix it? How do we learn from it and make sure we save lives in the future?
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. As we're watching it unfold in real time, the left is attacking you. The left is attacking Trump. Trump somehow said it was about DEI when he didn't say that. He said we have to look into what caused something like this to happen. At the end of the day, does that play any role whatsoever in your duty as the Transportation Secretary that there is a massive complicit media on the left and a massive political, community on the left that will attack you no matter even just that you breathe? Does that play a role at all, or you just here's the job, you say what you want to say, we're going to investigate and find out what's up?
Well, it's part of the job, right? We know the left wing media is going to attack us,
Yes.
and we accept that when you accept the role. But in regard to the DEI point, I was making the point of you want the best and the brightest. There might be other departments that you're willing to take some other standard for the employees that you hire. But when safety is your mission, safety is the standard, everybody who gets in an airplane, they don't want a DEI hire in the cockpit. They don't want a DEI hire in air traffic control. They just want the best and the brightest. They don't care about your race, your religion, your background. They don't care about any of that, just that you're the best. And so what I found when I got here was that there were a lot of priorities, right? They had diversity and they celebrated all the DEI months. They went so far as to try to change the name of, cockpit to flight deck. Like that's a really big thing. Like that drives safety. Or we have a system that goes to air traffic controllers. It's notice to airmen. They changed it to notice to air mission instead of men. I mean, stupid things that don't drive safety. And again, what the crashes that we had, it's a system that I inherited, right? And so they should have been focused on the core mission of keeping people safe. And so what's happened now for us is we understand what has to be done. We understand what has to be fixed in the system to make sure we pay it forward for generations, to make sure the investments were made, the technological upgrades were made, and we're in a place that we have a system that, again, keeps people in the air, going from point A to point B in a safe fashion.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, always appreciate the time and the access. Transportation.gov, obviously, is the website. Is there any truth, Sean, and if you don't know, just let me know, but I think you'll know this. Is there any truth that 1,000 people went through the Air Traffic Control Academy and were about to become air traffic controllers, and Obama said that it was too white? Or I think there's a lawsuit right now where a lot of people who say they didn't get the job because of DEI are suing the government over this, or suing Obama, suing somebody over it. That's the allegation. Was there a class that actually graduated and was ready to take these jobs that was turned away?
So not in my time. This goes back to what Barack Obama did back in 2011, 2012, somewhere along those timelines. Maybe it was 2013. But it was, so you have an entrance exam. You basically you're taking the ACT. How well do you score to get into the school? Well, they didn't just want to do that testing. Obama wanted to do some other testing about what aptitude do you have, and they might ask a bunch of questions about your favorite color, but then they might get to what's your favorite music. Well, if country music was one answer and rap is another, that was a way to, in a roundabout way, get to maybe a different class of people, right? And again, I want to pull from every single community.
Yeah,
I want all races, backgrounds, religions, sexual, whatever. But you got to be the best. You got to be the best. And so that's gone. That not the class action lawsuit, but those policies are gone. Right now, we have a system in place where we're elevating the standard to get in. Only the best and the brightest, they get the top seats first in the academy. And when that happens, we're trying to move them through the system quicker. But I can't snap my fingers and make things happen faster, because it's like 4 or 5 months through the academy. But then to get trained up in a tower, it takes anywhere from 1 year to 3 years to be trained up. So I'm working on how do I keep more controllers in towers, stop them from retiring, but also how do I get more young people through the academy? And that's a little bit of a process to go through. We're going through it. We have great ideas on how we're streamlining it, getting more instructors in the academies. But the key is we're safer when we have better and more air traffic controllers in the towers. And just one thing to your listeners, Joe, is that if it's not safe, people don't fly. Airspace gets shut down, right? So if there's a problem with air traffic controllers, we don't have enough staffing, or there's an issue, your plane will be delayed or it will be canceled, right? We don't send people in the air if we don't feel like we have the capacity in towers to control their airplanes. So again, there's a lot of redundancies and a lot of policies in place that make sure that people stay on the ground versus the air if we don't have the capacity with air traffic controllers.
Transportation Secretary of the United States, it's Sean Duffy. We appreciate the time and the access. You were on some media outlet that tried to say that President Trump and you cut the budget for air traffic controllers, to cut the budget for a bunch of people in the FAA, and your answer was spot on. You can't. No, there are no cuts when it comes to safety and security. Why do you think they were allowed to even start that narrative? Where did it come from? Did it come from the political left, from the complicit legacy media? But I mean, you straightened that person out immediately, which I loved. But where does that come from?
So we had probationary employees. We're trying to make our government more streamlined. more efficient? Can we do more with less people? And so probationary employees are employees for the most part who have been employed for less than a year. And across the modes, which is all the different modes of transportation we have,
Right.
we let our probationary employees go, except for the employees that work in our critical safety mission, like air traffic controllers.
Right.
Right.
They just lied about
they
it.
were all or the inspectors at Boeing. No one was laid off, but because 352 people were let go as probationary employees at the FAA, which, by the way, is 0.8% of their workforce. They have 45,000 employees. That opened up the left to attack us and say, we're firing people that have a role in critical safety. The truth is, not only did I not fire anybody at air traffic control, we actually hired people during that same time into air traffic control. So again, this is just the left being dishonest about what's actually happening and seeing an opening to say, we're going to try to drive a truck through, letting some shorter term employees leave, and then say that's impacting the safety of people in the air or inspectors at Boeing's manufacturing plant. It's disgusting. It's shameful. It shouldn't happen. But you and I, who follow the media, we see this all the time, and these are the charges that are false and fake. They do it all the time, which, by the way, is why if you look at television ratings, that's why the left in TV has plummeted, because you can't lie to people. Tell them the truth. Yeah. And if you don't do that, people turn the channel to somewhere where they will get the truth.
And they are doing that, and that's where we're seeing our ratings soar in other places like Fox and Newsmax and everybody else. It is Secretary Sean Duffy. When it comes to emergencies happening for the American people, East Palestine was ignored for a very long time. Buttigieg, your predecessor, showed up with his yellow jacket on once and a hard hat, walked around and looked at things and then left. When it comes to Western North Carolina, they were completely ignored for a very long time as we were housing illegal aliens up in the Roosevelt Hotel in New York City. Sean, you guys are on the mark now. You see there's an emergency and it's time to go there and see what's going on. The infrastructure in Western North Carolina specifically has been so decimated. What's the work that has to get done there? How quickly can you start doing it? And any thoughts about how ignored those people were for months?
Yeah, I mean, again, you covered this well. Most, at least conservative media, covered how atrociously FEMA responded to the people in Western North Carolina and in Tennessee. And again, when these things happen, we're Americans. We're not Democrats or Republicans, conservatives or liberals. We're Americans who expect their government to respond because they pay taxes to have the government respond in times of crises.
Yes.
But the Biden administration let politics come into play. And so, again, I was in Western North Carolina and in Tennessee. And again, the water flow was so big, it washed out whole sides of mountains and took the lanes of travel with it, right? So now we have to rebuild it. And the Trump administration, again, Donald Trump thinks uniquely. So we were going to have to truck in rock from like 30 miles, 40 miles away. It would take forever to rebuild up those embankments and rebuild the road, or we would have to, blast into the mountain further. We found a quarry right across the river that can give us the rock. We needed a permit and a process. I think it was the Forest Service that had to do that for us.
Right.
And again, Donald Trump made it happen. So we're cutting the time down by getting rock from the Forest Service right near the roads where we can get it and we can rebuild the road and get people connecting communities, moving goods and services through the mountains of Western North Carolina and doing it faster. Again, sometimes, Joe, the government doesn't have common sense. You wonder, well, why wouldn't have Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg thought like that? But again, the government mentality, which is, by the way, is so frustrating for the American people, doesn't think uniquely and differently. They think like government, which is a blob. It doesn't serve people. Donald Trump said, no, I want my teams to work together because we're going to serve the people and find answers that might be private sector answers, not government answers, which means you get to move faster and help people more quickly.
It is Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation, United States of America. We appreciate the time and the access. Those people, their stories were not even told by the legacy media. They were ignored wholesale for months and months, many of them living outside in the cold of winter. It didn't make any sense. I love that you went there. I love that you showed them hope. And those people now can see their lives coming back together. It could take a long time, but they're seeing that happen. Can you break down congestion pricing in New York City for me and make me understand why Hochul thinks she can double tax the people there?
Okay, so for those who don't know the issue, in New York City, Kathy Hochul from 60th Street South, right? A huge swath of Midtown Manhattan and Lower Manhattan. They, in essence, said, we're going to put up cameras and you're going to pay a toll every time you come into this quadrant. You're going to pay a $9 toll. And when you leave, you're going to pay a $9 toll. So you're going to pay $18 a day to access this part of Manhattan. And so the problem with that is that they never did a study that said if we charge this dollar amount, we'll get this much congestion reduction.
Right.
Because the issue wasn't congestion reduction. What it was they wanted to raise money so they could fund their public transit system, right? They can fund their trains, right? I get that, but you don't take money from drivers and fund just transit. Usually if you tax drivers, the money goes to roads, not to transit. So that's the first problem. They never did that analysis. But the second analysis is the taxpayers already paid for those roads. In gas taxes, they paid state taxes, federal taxes. They bought those roads. And now they want to charge a toll for every avenue, every street into this area. You got to pay another tax. There's no free pathway into 60th, which is Midtown and Lower Manhattan. You can't get in there for free, right? And so there's systematic problems with this. One other point, liberals want you to take a train, right? They want you to be on public transportation. That's fine and good, but make the case that the American people should want to take a train. And when you're getting burned in the subway station or pushed in front of a train, or you're getting stabbed or beat up because they're not safe, no one wants to take the train.
Yeah.
So if you want them to take the train, don't force them into it. Make the train experience so amazing, so beautiful, so wonderful that people want to take it. But they don't want to take the train because they think they can lose their lives. And if you're Mr. Penny who tries to save people on a train, you're prosecuted for it. They want to put you in jail for it. So again, no one wants to ride the train, and middle income, lower income people can't afford these taxes. And so for the elites of New York City that now have lower traffic volumes, they get to drive right in, and they love it. But they can afford to pay the $18 a day for the tax, right? That's great for them because they've taken middle income, lower income people off the roads and forced them on dirty, disgusting, violent, criminal trains because they can't afford to get to their job in retail or in a restaurant because it's too damn expensive.
Sean, do you have leverage to stop her? Can you say we're going to hold back highway funds? What do you do? How do you stop her?
I revoked her permit.
So she can't do it?
Well, so it's going to be effective, I think, the 21st of March. I'm giving her some time to figure out how she wants to move forward. She's going to sue us. I think we win in court. But what this is, again, DOT, Donald Trump standing up for the little guy who can't afford to pay these outrageous taxes that New York City is trying to take off the hides of a person who wants to drive in their car and stay safe. We're not going to tolerate it. So we revoked it. We're going to get sued. And we'll see where it goes. But I feel pretty good about when Kathy Hochul sues us. She doesn't care about congestion. She cares about raising money for transit.
And again, double taxation. You've already built the roads. It's such a great point. I think that you win rather easily. It is Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy. Thanks for making the time today. Best to Rachel and your family. Come back on anytime you can, my friend. Thank you.
God bless. Love the show. And thanks for having me on.
God bless you. I appreciate you. Thank you, Sean. We're back after this. Stay right here.